Welcome to another episode of Brews. My name is Andy. I'm a home brewer and beer lover based here in Cardiff in South Wales. And Nantfawr is a Welsh phrase. It means little brook or little stream. In fact, no, it's not little. It's big. Big brook, big stream. I'm underdoing myself there. It's the name of the area that I live in Cardiff, and it's also the name of my little brewery. That really is little. The brewery's little, the stream is big. That's how you remember it. And I just forgot it myself. Anyway, I tell you why I'm forgetting the intro is because it's been a while since I've done an episode, and that is a shame, and that is due to the busyness of work and mixing work and family life, and I'm sure my guest today will be able to identify with that. We have got an old friend of the show on today, and I'm so happy to have him back. It's Ransom, and you may remember that we spoke right at the beginning of Nantfawr Brews. And since then, I've been a guest on his podcast, and we've collaborated on another podcast, and we've just kind of good podcasty friends, which is nice. I had an idea for a fun episode, and I wanted to combine my passions for beer and music. And I thought, who else do I know who loves beer and music? And the first person I thought of was Ransom. So here he is. Ransom, how are you, my friend?
I'm excellent, my friend. Like you, I've been looking forward to this. It was a really fun exercise and fun to try some new beers and try to link into music. Like, this is a great idea, dude. You're good at what you do, as I always say. It's a pleasure to be back.
Thanks, that's kind. I mean, this is why I like Ransom so much, because he just says nice things about me. So there you go. That's he's an obvious booking for a guest. But yeah, we've tried, as Ransom alluded to there, we're trying something a little bit different, a little bit of a concept this episode. And where it came from, the idea is just whenever you're talking about two subjects like beer and music, the number of offshoots you can go down, little kind of strange paths where you find out about things you didn't know before. And you can get some really interesting conversations, some interesting knowledge that way. So I thought, why don't we set up an episode where, Ransom is a bit more of a lot more of a music expert than me, but he's probably more of a music expert than he is a beer expert. And then probably I'm the other way around in that I love my music, but I can't play it nearly as well as Ransom can. And I know probably a little bit more about beer. So we thought, well, why don't we combine our strengths? And I'll choose a beer for Ransom, and then he has to go, and from that beer I've chosen, go and find a bit of music that somehow relates to it. It's very loose, it's very vague. He can be inspired, he can go down strange flights of fancy. He could take inspiration from the name or the taste or the look, and I can't wait to find out where he's gone with this. And equally, the other way around, Ransom gives me a piece of music, something he's excited about or likes at the moment. And from there, I take some inspiration and I go and find a new beer for him to try and maybe for me to try, and just something that I haven't really discovered before. And the fun part is we're going to share our workings out, okay? Just like in a good, I'm going to use the right word here, Ransom, math test, where, your teacher says, show me your workings out. Don't just give me the answer. That's what we're going to do. So here's how it's going to work. First of all, Ransom's going to tell me about the music he chose for me and why he chose it. And then I'm going to talk about the beer I chose for Ransom and why I chose it. Then we go into the fun part, because then Ransom's going to explain to me where my beer took him and how he found a new bit of music inspired by it. And then we'll do it the other way around. I'll take Ransom's music choice and go for a new beer that inspired me. So hopefully that all makes sense. I mean, it took a while to explain it to each other, to be honest. So
A few emails back and forth.
Have you actually understood are you listening now to the concept, Ransom, and going, oh, actually, that's not what I did?
No, I got it. We're in sync, thankfully.
All right, cool. Look, so here we go. Ransom, you picked a bit of music for me. Tell me what you picked and why you picked it.
I was looking for something unique and interesting because, when I listen to a lot of music, and a lot of it, no fault of the artist, no fault of the recording, producers or anything. It just doesn't kind of make me sit up and go, what is that? And so I was going to look for something that did that for me, because I was like, that should drive you to an interesting beer. So I picked an artist called Fantastic Negrito, which I had only recently discovered. He's been around for about 10 years now, but he first kind of hit the scene, as far as I can tell, in 2015 with this single called An Honest Man, which is the first song that I saw on Spotify. And it's like sharp and insightful and raw and honest and really musically interesting. And he's his own really unique artist. And honestly, I kind of identified with him because I felt that way about the double RA, like it's kind of a show that it's really its own thing. I love his Instagram bio. Actually, I looked it up. He says, a marketing nightmare: rock, funk, soul, punk, rhythm, and blues. And it's like, how do you market that? I don't know. It's its own thing. And so I thought this will be really interesting. So that's the artist. Give you as a challenge. Like, okay, it's got to be that unique. But then wasn't really sure what song, because An Honest Man is like, I don't know, it didn't speak to me as far as could it lead you to an interesting beer. And I mean, he's done a bunch of albums. I was looking at his discography. It looks like about 6 releases. But I saw when we first started doing this, oh, he's releasing a new album here in about 11 days. I'm like, that's perfect. I'll find something off that album. And while I love the whole thing, the titular track, Son of a Broken Man, which I encourage everyone to go check out, go listen to the whole album, but it's just got this sweet, kind of swingy, bluesy, lounge is the wrong word. It's the kind of song you would hear if you were sitting alone in a bar, or I guess a pub, maybe 6 or 7 people in the room, and everyone's just kind of reflecting on the depth and complexity of life. Maybe someone's sad, maybe, someone is missing someone, and this song comes over the speakers, and everyone can kind of just feel this sense of unity from it. And it just speaks to the depth and complexity of the human experience in a way that not a lot of songs that I've heard do. And so I thought, there we go. Let's see what Andy does with this. I'll be interested to see where it leads him,
I be the son of a broken man. You can't imagine the things that I've tried. So we could both swim in a river of tears that have caused so many to cry.
I mean, I love this track, Ransom, and it's, as someone who likes to try lots of different music, but I'll be honest, sometimes when you get recommended a track, it takes you a while to get into it. You think, well, where's my access point into this? But straight away, I don't know how he's managed to do it. Maybe it's all those different influences that are rolled up in his style, but it's so accessible. Like, you find yourself just humming it and the words coming into your brain. So that was a brilliant choice. And so thank you for that. And I guess just a few things that because I immediately went and obviously looked up about Fantastic Negrito. What he describes his music as is black roots music for everyone. And that speaks to exactly what you were saying about a bit of everything. So brilliant choice. I won't give away where I went to with the inspiration yet, but let me talk through my choice of beer for Ransom, okay? My challenge was, I'm here in the UK, I'm here in Wales, Ransom's over there in California, and there's not much intersect in terms of the beers that we can both get other than really kind of mainstream stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I've said many times on this podcast, you drink the beer you like to drink, and if it's mainstream beer, nothing wrong with that. I drink a lot of mainstream beer. But I thought it would be interesting to go with something a little bit more different. So I thought, right, doesn't matter about whether I can taste this beer or not. Let's get something local to Ransom. I looked at the microbreweries and the tap rooms in his area, and I found one called the Lincoln Beer Company, which you hadn't been to before, right?
No, I did. Like, it's so funny because just about a week or two ago, before you sent it to me, I had been searching for interesting things to take a buddy to. And I'll mention him later because we both like beer and he's real close here. And I had seen that name, but I hadn't had a chance to investigate it. So when you sent it, I'm like, oh, perfect.
And then Ransom went, he picked up these beers. I ordered some beers for him. He sent me photos of this tap room. It's in a castle, which is weird. I mean, I think this is not a medieval castle. This is a recent build, shall we say. But just, I love that, the visual, and I'll put some photos up on X, Twitter, that show this. But yeah, just, I love the idea of you walking into this kind of fake castle to go and pick up your beers. When I was looking at their range online, I love the fact that they were local. Their kind of slogan is always moving forward. I really respect that. The guy who runs it, the guy who started it, is a guy called Patrick Dunn. I think he used to work in the film industry, and then he was a home brewer like me, and then just wanted to pursue that passion. They've made a Simpsons beer, Duff Craft beer, which is amazing as a little one-off. The beer that I chose is called Rail Splitter Red Ale. It's a 5.5%, and I love a red ale. I think the red ale that I brew here, as Nantbauer Brews, that I give to my friends, it's always the most popular one. I think it's such a brilliant mix between giving you the kind of complexity of flavor that you might get from a bitter or a darker beer, but also get that accessibility that you might get with an IPA or even a lager. It's got like the best of both. It's got kind of some flavor, but it's got some refreshment, and it's quite accessible, and also just that lovely color as well. So look, I think you've got it there, haven't you, Ransom? So do you want to
I
open it up
do.
and show us how it goes?
Right here. It
Did
is.
you did Rail Splitter immediately mean something to you?
No, it's always really fun to research it. That kind of led me down my path, but I'll talk about that
Oh,
later.
okay, right, interesting. Right, let's see the pour. Here we go. Look at that. That's a lovely, lovely red. That's exactly what a red ale should look like.
Spectacular.
Brilliant.
So
there we go.
Thank
And
you.
since Ransom's cracked open a beer, I should as well. I will explain later what this is because it does have a relevance. So, but it's a red can as well. So there you go. So we've introduced our picks. We've got a song called "Son of a Broken Man" by a fantastic Negrito, and then we've got a beer called Rail Splitter Red Ale from the Lincoln Beer Company. And even if you turn this podcast off now and just went and knew that Fantastic Negrito was an artist, went and investigated his stuff, and even if you're nowhere near California, if you just found your local craft brewery or even tried a red ale, I think we would have achieved our aim here, wouldn't we? In that we would have shared two good things that maybe people wouldn't have tried before. But this is where it's going to get really interesting because now we're going to go into the unknown. Where have these two choices that me and Ransom have made for each other taken each other's creativity? And we're two creative people here. Ransom, over to you.
Here's what was really funny. So when I drove up to the Lincoln Beer Company and saw this, this incredible castle facade and just started snapping photos, went in, picked up the beer, kind of took in the surroundings, trying to get kind of inspiration, like the picture of Lincoln posing on the wall, which maybe is up on Twitter now. It's just like, I love this place, man. So took the beers home and I was like, all right, I think I really want to get a holistic experience of what this beer is, did some little, looked at the company's website, looked at their description of it. And then my buddy Mike, who's my beer buddy, I'll call him, I said, hey man, come on down. Let's split it. Let's both taste it. Let's see what we like. And so that was interesting. So we sat outside, just in a little patio outside our house here in an apartment complex, and popped it open, and it was solid. What kind of struck me at first, I was like, it's not as sweet as other red ales I've had, and that threw me a little bit. So Mike and I were chatting, and I kind of enjoyed my half of it, and I'm like, okay. And then later on, I'm like, okay, generously bought me a 4-pack. So, I gave one to Mike, we split one, I got 2 left, right? So I took that and I'm like, all right, what is this about? I give it a second tasting. And it was the description on the website that kind of opened it up for me. A healthy malt presence, a sprinkle of roast, a touch of sweet, and a clean finish. And I'm like, okay, a touch of sweet. So I was expecting something sweeter, and that kind of threw me. And so for the next time I tried it was actually in the middle of the day like today. I had just finished a cup of dark coffee, which I like. So I kind of brought it again to help accent it, because what I discovered is after having this really kind of dark chocolatey coffee, you get the beer and the touch of sweet, it's perfect. And then I'm like, okay, now I get this beer. I do. This one was subtle, but it was kind of like not mellow so much as kind of grounded. I'm like, okay, mellow, grounded. All right, what does rail splitter mean? Because I had never heard that term before, believe it or not, which is funny because I'm an American, and that'll be apparent why that's funny in a second. And I found out, as one might expect, it was involving Abraham Lincoln. So this was his nickname in his first campaign in 1860, and they called him the rail candidate or the rail splitter. And I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. Why is this? So I looked it up. Here's where it came from. And this is from the Lincoln Memorial College website. So on November 6th, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected 16th president of the United States. He won as the rail splitter candidate, a nickname acquired the previous May when Illinois Republicans convened at Decatur to endorse a favorite son for president. Lincoln was the likely choice, but his supporters felt he needed a catchier nickname than Old Abe or Honest Abe. Thus, a first cousin of Lincoln's mother located a split rail fence supposedly built by Lincoln in 1830, so about 30 years before. When they walked into the hall carrying 2 of the split rails, decorated with flags, streamers, and a sign that read Abraham Lincoln, the rail candidate, the crowd went wild. And Lincoln, with his characteristic sense of humor, he said he claimed he could not say for certain that he had split those particular rails, but he said that he had mauled many and many better ones since he had grown to manhood. Now, by now, Lincoln was a prominent lawyer, not a backwoodsman, but he had split rails in his youth, and the image held enormous appeal to voters, who were all male at the time, who shared similar backgrounds and cultural beliefs about the merits of hard work and self-reliance. And I'm like, that's a perfect name for this beer. Like, that's what it feels like. You're drinking it like with salt of the earth people. They work hard. Maybe they smell after their jobs, but they're not, dull. They're actually very deep thinkers. Like some of the greatest poets have been common people. And I'm like, this is fantastic. All right, so now I got to find a song that lives up to this name, right? So I started digging through my playlist on Spotify. I'm like, I'm sure I've got something in my like songs that maybe will match. And, I found a lot of different blues, rock, Southern Gothic things that sort of felt close, but nothing really kind of spoke to me, And after going down a few times, I stumbled upon a song that I'd listened to before, but appealed to me so much when I thought of this beer. It's called Everybody Walkin' This Land by Paul Cawthon. And when I first turned it on, it sounds like Johnny Cash. I thought it was a Johnny Cash cover. Like when people listen to it, you'll see what I mean.
All your mothers and your brothers and your sisters and your fathers and everybody walking this land. No matter your race, your creed, your tribe, whose nation you defend. With open hearts, open minds, and a helping hand each time to the mothers and the brothers and the sisters and the fathers. Everybody walking this land.
Everybody Walking This Land by Paul Cawthon. Am I saying that right?
I think it's Cawthon, yeah, like Paul Cawthon.
Paul Cawthon. Again, another one that just gets straight in your head in 30 seconds. So tell me about this song.
So again, I'd heard it before, and I love the stomp clap. There's kind of marching feel of it, and the kind of simplicity, a lot like the Johnny Cash song, God's Gonna Cut You Down. This one's a little more hopeful, which I kind of appreciate. What the song is going for is this calling to all these different types of people. And if you listen to the whole song, you'll see all the kinds of people he calls out to. It's literally everybody walking this land, saying we got to get through this together. We need to identify and kind of live in our common humanity, because that's what we're going to need to do to get through this. And in fact, there's this great part later in the song. Let me pull it up here. He actually says, all you racists, fascists, nihilists, and bigots, I'm calling you out, my friend. We're praying for you, my friend. It's even reaching out to your enemies. And I'm like, wow, if that does not encapsulate the spirit of this beer, who it's named for, the time that nickname came from, Abraham Lincoln dealing with a divided country, dealing with family split down the middle. And like in the way that this song calls out to everyone, like we have to walk together or we're not going to survive. And even calling out to, like I said, the people that you would normally be enemies with. I'm like, I can't think of a better song to go with this beer. Like they will forever in my mind be linked. And it was released in 2018, which was 2 years into the previous presidency's term. So a lot of the tensions we're feeling today were very alive and active then. 2018. It sounds like Johnny Cash. It's wild. So this guy, he was like the son of a religion in his family, like influences of musicians. He lives in Texas. Like you can just see, you read his Wikipedia and you see all the influences and you're like, yeah. But I'm thankful that that's the way he chose to execute that song.
I'm feeling pretty smug because this format has worked so well in that it's gone down a completely unpredictable path. We had no idea what each other had picked. I love the song. I love all the reasons behind it. I can see all the connections. It's fantastic. But I have a few questions so I can understand it a bit more. So, sure. Right, as an American, like, what does Lincoln mean to you? Because it's a name over here. You hear the American presidents named, and I know that for Americans, they each represent different kind of things. What is Lincoln about? Tell us about Lincoln.
It's Washington and Lincoln that are kind of like the biggest presidents. Washington was the first. He kind of embodied that kind of regal start to, a very scrappy nation. Like he had incredible respect at this time. Lincoln, he was guiding the country through the most fraught period, arguably, at the time for sure, in its history. The issue of slavery had been brewing for decades, and it had not been addressed in the founding of the country, and now it was finally coming to the fore. And he had to be the one to guide the nation through that, through a civil war. And so when people, and he forwarded the Emancipation Proclamation, a step in the right direction, though there was still a lot of work left to do at the time. So he embodies this spirit of unity through strife, not like by the means of strife, but rather walking through incredible difficulty, incredible suffering. And he himself suffered a lot. And so I think a lot of people look to him as an example of having kind of equanimity in the face of terrible, terrible circumstances. My son was actually just he played a bit part in a play about Lincoln, and it really showed how he and his wife had emotional issues. They had lost a child, and then they were dealing with, all at the same time, dealing with the Civil War and people just, families tearing each other apart, trying to split the country. So it's a really fraught subject. It's really nuanced, but I think most people agree that Lincoln himself was an incredibly unifying figure, and he did that in the face of incredible resistance. He's a good example of, I think, the best of us.
I didn't know that history. It all kind of makes sense. It makes sense, that song as well. Going back to the rail splitter thing, that idea that, you can walk in with essentially 2 planks of wood into a big kind of political rally and everyone goes crazy. Like, yeah, it's amazing. Like things have moved I was going to say things have moved forward. I'm not sure they have moved forward in terms of political rallies, but things have definitely moved on.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think that's a fantastic choice of song. It'll always have a meaning to it because we discovered it via this conversation, via this exercise. So brilliant choice. All right, so now my turn. Where in the world did I go from Fantastic Negrito and Son of a Broken Man? Well, one thing about Fantastic Negrito is I read a lot about him, and I read a quote that he turns his trauma into art. And I love that as a phrase. I love that as a way of progressing through the world, because I think, we all have things that don't go well in our lives. And if you can somehow turn that negative into a positive, it relates to what I do with home brewing. Like, home brewing is something where you have to concentrate on it enough that it takes your brain away from all the stuff that's worrying you. But it's not so hard to do that it then stresses you out in itself. It's one of those lovely hobbies. And then you're coming out of it with something that you've created. And, I know a lot of people, like you yourself, your creativity is a form of therapy to you, isn't it? You sit there, you write your music, and you're processing stuff and you're expressing yourself. So before I go down on where I went with it, I just wanted to thank you for introducing me to Fantastic Negrito and his story, because he's got an amazing story. He's a self-taught musician, which again appeals to me. As a home brewer, that's all we're doing, is teaching ourselves how to do stuff. I love this story that he used to sneak into the classrooms at Berkeley College and pretend that he was a music student there to join in with the classes, even though he didn't go there at all. He just used to sneak in and go to the classes, and that would teach him a bit more about music. Again, a bit like you tasting the beer and thinking, it's like you were kind of assessing the character a bit. And I was trying to get a knowledge of him. And it's like this, it's independence. It's a little bit of a backstory in terms of some bad stuff going on maybe, or some challenges, but then overcoming that through creativity, and mainly just kind of like forging his own path. I think he was involved in a bad car accident, which left him really quite badly injured. And I think he couldn't make music for a long time. And that meant that his label released him. I mean, I don't think just because he was in a car crash, but he wasn't making music anymore. And so obviously wasn't kind of able to be an active musician. But he said that when he got released from that deal, it actually freed him up so that he could go and make the music that he wanted. And he didn't feel like he was having to kind of fit in boxes anymore. All this stuff I'm lapping up and thinking, this is great. I'm so glad I've been introduced to this artist. But it wasn't really leading me to a beer, to be honest. It was just
it's tough to go.
Interesting and good. But it was evoking memories and thoughts about my own kind of home brewing and how it's it's a creative outlet for me. So then I'm right. Okay, I need to focus in. I need to get some inspiration here. So I looked into the word Negrito. Now it's worth saying here that it is a word that can be problematic for Latin Americans and Black people in some regards in terms of how it's used. So obviously I'm not trying to offend anyone by using the word. I just went to try and define it. And one of the definitions that I found is actually more of a definition of some specific ethnic groups and where they lived. And it is used to describe one in particular in the Philippines. Like 30 ethnic groups in the Philippines would describe themselves as Negrito, a kind of an overall term that kind of groups these ethnic groups together. And so that just led me down a weird path of the Philippines. And I thought, do they even drink beer in the Philippines? Do you think beer is big in the Philippines?
I would not know, right? It's like oddly, my gut reaction would be like, I don't think it is.
No, but I didn't think so either.
I'm ready to be surprised.
The Philippines is the 22nd biggest beer market in the whole world.
Of course it is.
And
what do we know, man? What do we know?
Do you know what the first biggest beer market in the world is?
Oh, man.
It's contested between two countries vie for it. It kind of switches between the two. Depends how you measure it. Can you guess what those two are?
I've got a short list. I think one is maybe just because of population, Germany, and the other one's the UK.
No, neither. USA and China.
Well, that makes sense.
China's got the population.
Yeah.
You guys love your beer, so, be proud of that.
America.
So, anyway, Philippines, massive beer market. 70% of all alcoholic drinks drunk in the Philippines are beer. Wow. Who knew? Now, the biggest brewery in the Philippines is a brewery called San Miguel. And I was like, oh, San Miguel. Yeah, we've got San Miguel here. It's must be a coincidence. Must be just, it's a common name. It's a Spanish beer. It's a mainstream beer. It's nothing too exciting. How wrong I was, because turns out this beer, San Miguel, that people drink pints and pints of it here in the UK. It's massively popular. It's like on the same level as like a Coors Light in the US. Like you will find it absolutely everywhere, and people drink it assuming it's Spanish, and it's Filipino.
There you go, man.
So in 1890, some Spanish guys went across to the Philippines and they set up the first brewery in Asia, I think. And there it was in the Philippines, and and they called it San Miguel, and it's turned into this massive multinational company. They've licensed the beer all over the world, but it is a Filipino company.
That is amazing.
So there you go. Bizarre. So I thought, well, hang on. Am I drinking Filipino beer here in the UK when I'm drinking San Miguel? And you can buy it in every supermarket.
Yeah.
And turns out I'm not, because everyone assumes it's a Spanish beer, but it didn't actually get brewed in Spain till I think the 1940s. And then it got bought out by a Spanish beer company called Mahou, which is what I'm drinking tonight. And so Mahou is a Spanish beer, and weirdly, 1890 is on their can as well. So that was when they started brewing. So 1890 is a key year here.
Very good.
So that's one of the places I went, was San Miguel. And I thought, can you get hold of a San Miguel, where you are? And the answer is yes, because if you go to any Filipino supermarket in California, and I am told that there are a few, then they will sell San Miguel. And what you'll be getting, which I can't get, is the original Filipino San Miguel, and not the knockoff Spanish version, which is now brewed under contract here in the UK because it's such a vast beer. So you are actually able to access the proper San Miguel, and I'm not. So
I can't
please
wait.
buy some and enjoy it.
I will definitely do that. I'm excited. That's what I love about LA, man. The world lives here. I'm excited, man. I'm so excited.
Anyone listening in the UK, and obviously I know a lot of you will be, that beer that you assume is Spanish that you put down your neck every Friday night in the pub, it's Filipino. And you can now tell everyone in the pub. In fact, you could probably win some money by going, right, everyone put $5 on the table, tell me which country this beer is from. They'll all say Spain, you'll say the Philippines, and you'll clear up. So there you go. We are helping you out.
Nice.
And our Brews to the rescue. That's your first beer that has gone to from Fantastic Negrito. But the other ones I wanted to go to were, I wanted to go off Son of a Broken Man. Now, that's not a particularly easy phrase to get a beer from, but I have attempted it. I wanted to go down if you could look in the lyrics of the song, I think it's something, I'll just look it up. It's something like, maybe there's a husband, maybe there's a wife, maybe there's a friend, something like that. Oh, let there be someone, a husband or wife, a friend or a partner, and we'll get it till we get it right. So as I read it, he's basically talking about the support that all of us need at times to get through life. And it could be a husband or a wife, a friend, a partner, but just someone that can kind of be with us and be by our side until we sort things out. So that led me down a route of, right, let's find breweries that are run by fathers and sons or husbands and wives. And a couple emerged, and it's going to give both me and you some homework. So
all right.
There's a brewery called Munyard Brewery in Lincolnshire. Now, that is run by a father and a son. The son, he tells his story on the website, and he basically says, look, I've tried working in lots of different professions. It's never really worked out for me. But the one thing I've always wanted to do is make beer. And one day my dad just said, look, you go for it and I'll join you. And so there you go. They ran the company together and they made a big success of it. I love that story. Lincolnshire is great as well, because I did an episode with Bateman's Brewery, and they are based in Lincolnshire. And they said, look, come and visit the brewery, have a look round. So I've now got another reason to visit Lincolnshire, to visit Munyard Brewery, run by a father and a son. And when I bore them with this story about why I went to their brewery, they won't believe it. It's so far-fetched, they won't believe it. What? But the other one, so then I was looking worldwide, I was looking for breweries run by partnerships. And there is a brewery in Claremont, which I think is about 40 minutes away from you, called Claremont Craft Ales, run by a husband and wife.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to send you there to go and try their Jacaranda Rye IPA. I love the fact it's got rye in it. Everything about that brewery that I read on their website just appealed to me. Taproom looks awesome. They put on their website that they're kid friendly, dog friendly, grandma friendly, everything friendly. So, and they even got a line on it saying, we're inspired by wanting to be like a British community pub. So I thought, wow, this is
Perfect.
this is meant to be. Those are my two recommendations for you. One is to go to a Filipino supermarket and try and get an original San Miguel. And oh, by the way, San Miguel in the Philippines has a 90% market share, which I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a product having that. So basically, you're drinking the beer that Filipinos drink.
There we go.
And then, yeah, if you get time, go to Claremont Craft Ales and have a try of their Jacaranda Rye IPA.
Nice, dude. That's fantastic. I love it. You're right, man. This has been so awesome to see. I mean, it's almost like 6 degrees of separation. It's just like this massive web of ideas that go through anything that you can create and make to be shared, right? Like the connections of fathers and sons and husbands and wives, and really any kind of relationship that births something, whether it be a child or a creation, right? And that the world can share it, and we can all feel a little less alone, a little less at each other's throats, I guess. I love that.
So, look, we've managed to speak doing this slightly bizarre kind of concept episode, but I think it's really worked. And just what it's brought home to me is that we can get in our little narrow lanes of, I like this type of music, I like this type of beer, I go to these type of places. And your world starts to get very small without you realizing it. And you forget that there are literally millions of options out there that you don't know about. And we're only here once. I don't want to get too serious about all this, but we've got to go and find some new inspiration to go and try new things, because, you know, you might discover a song, an artist that you love that can take you to lots of different other artists and songs that you love. Same with the beers and the places that you visit as well. So I think maybe in the stage of life where we're both at, where, you know, you work and family is kind of takes up all of your time, you can just end up in your little rhythms and routines. And I think what I've loved about making this episode is it's forced me to look outside of that. And, you know, I now have 2 new artists and 2 new songs as a starting point to go and investigate. Thank you for taking part in it. And I've really enjoyed it.
Likewise, my friend. I had the same kind of feeling. Like, so Lincoln Beer Company is just up the street. Without knowing it, I've driven past it dozens and dozens of times. There are treasures within a stone's throw that you can just miss if you never go exploring. And that's why an exercise like this was just such a great, I don't even want to use the word excuse, a great inspiration to go find those treasures. And then once you find them, you can take them with you and then pass them on and then spread the joy. And then, hey, you want to pass some business to this great brewery? Then there you go. You've already done some good, even as you've enjoyed what they make. So just like music, it's meant to be shared.
Yeah, totally agree. There's people behind all of these things. You know, look at the places we've been. We've gone from Lincoln, the person, and I found out stuff about him that I didn't know about. He had his challenges to get over, both on a personal level and in the whole kind of sorting the whole country out. This mood of independence and getting on with it and taking inspiration and going creating, we found that throughout all the choices. So yeah, I think it's just hopefully a reminder to us two, if no one else, to just carry on creating, because there's value in that.
Absolutely, my friend. I appreciate the inspiration. I do and will take it with me.
Perfect. All right, look, we're going to wrap up the episode there. It's been brilliant fun. Thank you, if you're listening, for joining in and kind of going on our little magical mystery tour. I'm sure, like us, you've learned a few things along the way, maybe some things you didn't need to know. But hopefully the little San Miguel knowledge can win you a fiver down the pub, if nothing else. So, look, this is the bit at the end where usually I would give you an update on my brewing. Not much to add, other than I will be making a lager at the right time of year for once. So you learn as you go as a home brewer. And what I've learned is what you need to do is you need to make lager at the beginning of winter. So then you can whack it in the garage or somewhere cold, the shed, and let it lager. Lager is the German word for store. That's how it was made. They stored the lager in their caves in Germany, and those cold temperatures just let these nice clear beers mellow and gradually improve. That's what lager is about. So if you make your lager at the beginning of the winter and then just forget about it for 4 or 5 months, leave it in that nice cold garage and it'll just slowly mature, and then you drink it in the summer. And as a home brewer, you end up you chase your tail a bit. You try and make a lager in the summer, wrong time of year to make it. And then you try and make ales in the winter because you think, oh, I want to drink an ale in the winter. Ales are much better made in the summer because those temperatures are about 18, 19 degrees, give those nice fruity esters, which give it that kind of ale taste. So you need to brew back to front. I finally learned this. So next week I will be making my lager, which will sit in my garage for 4 months. Later in the year, I'll be making some ale. So brewing is taking place. Other than that, not much to update on, other than to say sorry that I've been away for a couple of months. Life gets in the way, but we are, well, I say we, it's just me. I am going to be back now, monthly episodes. I'm on it. It'll be happening. So look, I'm going to go now. I'm not going to witter on anymore. Ransom, thank you so much for being on this episode, my friend.
A great pleasure, my friend. Thanks for inviting me and for the inspiration, as I said.
Also, I should say one of the episodes that I'm going to be making in the next few months is a catch-up on the Miners' Arms in Nenthead, which you might have remembered from the episode How to Save a Pub. They're still moving forward, but they have had some twists and turns, and so we'll hear all about that on the catch-up episode. I will remind Ransom at this point that he has promised that when the Miners' Arms reopens, he will be there for a special live episode of the podcast. So
gonna make it happen.
Yeah, you go. He's still up for it. That's good. Okay, I'm going to sign off now with my usual sign off, which is between now and the next time we make an episode, have a wonderful life, be kind to each other, drink some wonderful beer, and we'll see you next time.